theme song for the Gear Podcast, and we're back after a big long break. How you feeling, Uncle Liam? What's going on, mate?
Bloody great, mate. It's 11 on a Monday.
Yep, 11:05.
Caffeinated. I'm hydrated.
Ah, yeah, it must be.
And we're here to talk about all the...
Oh, here it is. Yeah, here it is. I'll have a little sip just with a bit of ASMR for everybody, okay? Listen to this.
Yeah.
I actually tried to make it extra slurpy, but it didn't happen, and I won't force it. Yeah, so you're caffeinated, you're hydrated, that's nice.
Coming at you from a different location, as you can obviously see.
What's happening, mate? Well, tell the people, why has it taken so long for us to do an episode? The people have been crying out for it on the internet. What's been happening, mate?
I've been moving house, mate.
You've been moving house?
Moving house, so that's a bit of a thing. Yeah, you got some nice 90s style vertical blinds happening here.
Beautiful
so
thing.
Yeah, we bought a place, so we're slowly moving in.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the cats run the house, and we're just lucky enough to live in here. So yeah, it's been a process.
Yep.
It's still an ongoing process, still so much stuff to move over. But, as some people have seen on the channel, there's a big metal shed in the backyard. And that's going to be, I think, the big 2025 project is maybe make that usable as some kind of
stay away from saying
content creation space.
Stay away from saying Project 2025 there, Uncle Leon. But
Let's. That's a totally unintentional slip.
Yeah,
so,
but no, that's good, mate. So wait, so you've moved. So you're obviously sleeping there. You're cooking in there. You're hanging out. You're watching TV. You got your TV over there.
Yeah, we got a new TV. Which
did ya?
I've watched heaps of TV on the weekend, which I just don't do.
What'd you get?
Like, you get a new thing. We got one of those Samsung frame TVs. So when it's in standby, it looks like a painting. Ooh. And it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And it's about that thin, and it sort of flush mounts on the walls. So, yeah, other than that, man, just I've been playing a lot at home, which is nice, which I like, and just playing for fun because it's something to do. So, yeah, I've got like sort of a little nook here with a couch and like 2 guitars at the moment, and got my FM9 and the Red Sound set up so I can kind of crank them during the day. And yeah, it's been nice. And the weather this time of the year in, Western Australia is just bloody glorious. So
yeah, but apparently we're
enjoying that.
In for a heat wave / everything wave and cyclones and everything. So we might not be here after Christmas or before Christmas. We'll see. So
it may be cast away the Gear Podcast.
Yeah, I think it's going to hit 38 or something, or maybe like even it's going to be somewhere between mid 30s and mid 40s for the whole week, which is a bit scary. 20 degrees overnight, which is not fun. That's Celsius for you Americans, but
exactly,
that'll be fun. You got air conditioning in that place, mate? You're fine.
There's 3 separate air cons here. We got so lucky with this place, man. There's like an awesome garden, and there's solar and water tanks, and just living that doomsday prepper life now, unintentionally. Great gardens. I had a mate come around the other day, and they were like, oh man, I pulled up and, sort of, I don't know if it was the right place. It kind of looks like, an old person's house. It's like, yeah, the gardens are nice and someone tends to them. So that's why we bought it. So yeah, that's been exciting and, super tiring, but very, very rewarding, as I'm sure anyone who's been through that process recently knows. What about you, mate? You've been under the pump, Troy.
Yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks, man. As I mentioned to you, we're heading away on holiday to visit family at the end of this week. So it's a bit of a mad race to the finish, trying to get things finished. Yeah, but it's good. There's been a lot of things on the to-do list that I got through last week. There's a few projects that need to be completed this week. I think I may have gotten 99% through one of them just before we jumped on this call, which is nice.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll only be one more single. But man, I'm busy. Like, this has been weird because I think from pretty much mid-2023 to now, it's been constant. And my work, studio stuff in particular, is always up and down. There's always something happening, but, maybe it's one thing, maybe it's 2 things, and then it drip feeds in. And the way that my work exists and happens is that I teach and I do gigs, and then I do the studio as well. So they're all kind of happening at once. And fortunately and unfortunately, since like mid-2023, it's just been constantly busy and probably booked up like 3 months in advance. And that seems to be what's happening now as well. So I think I can't really take on any projects until probably end of Feb, start of March, which is very good. Just a good thing to be like, all right, I'm not super stressed out about money and whatnot. I mean, I'm still obviously stressed out about money because I want to buy myself more guitar amps, and that's the biggest problem. But
more SLOs.
well, I got to buy myself an SLR. We'll talk about that in a minute, man. But yeah, dude, it's life's pretty good. I'm happy. I do love this time of year. Like the time when I finished teaching, which was last Monday. So you said it's Monday. I finished officially, actually to the minute almost. I submitted my results and everything was sweet. So yeah, just get stuck into the rest of my work and
smash a few Christmas fruit mince pies.
Well, mate, there you go. I was I went Christmas shopping the other day by myself / birthday shopping for my partner. So I was leaving the Galleria and I walked past Baker's Delight, which if you're Australian and you like a fruit mince pie, I think you know Baker's Delight. Even though they're a chain, it's good, bloody good fruit mince pies. If you don't know what they are, well, they come in little things like about this big, and it is delicious. It's fruit mince in a pie. So I smashed those. But what was my point? Finishing work, being busy. I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So that's me, mate. Just killing it, just living life day by day.
And to clarify, not just studio stuff, like you've been doing lots of gigs, right?
Yeah, lots of gigs, man. I think that was the big thing is like last Friday I had a gig, which was not like, it probably wasn't really that hard. But I probably built it up to being a lot more stressful of a gig than it really ended up being. So it's kind of funny, man. Like there's certain things that I do. So I had a gig in the middle of the day and then I had to mix a live sound gig in the afternoon / the evening. But there's and I had a gig on Saturday as well. But like my gig on Saturday is the, gig I've been doing for the last couple of years and I can do it with my eyes closed while I'm asleep. It's like no problem. And mixing a live gig too, done it a million times. It's a school concert. It was like 6 hours long. It was long, and quite intense in certain moments, but I've done it a million times. But when it comes to I've got to learn this many songs, I've got to run tracks, I've got to do everything myself. I don't know what the client's going to be like. I don't know what the the punters are going to be like. Things get a little bit stressful. So I'd kind of built everything up to last Friday's being a big stressful event, and now that that's over, I'm like, well, I can do the things that I know I can do, without stressing out too much. So that's it, man. I've got to mix a couple of tracks this week. That's cool. I love doing that. That's fun. Oh, I didn't mention to you, but I bought a new piece of gear in the last few days. I'll lift it up and show you in a second. I'm kind of learning that. So yeah, man, get to talk to you. That's cool. And it's nice. I'm looking forward to just having a bit of time off over the rest of the year. Got to come up see your new place as well, which will be nice.
And we can start. You can give me some advice on where to put things.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you.
Optimal performance.
So, you mentioned that the big shed is the project for the future. What's the short term, what's the long term goal? So you do have a big shed for content creation, apparently. Let's not talk about what content you're going to make in there, but what about in your current house? How many bedrooms have you got? Have you got one that's going to be slated as the office for the near future, or the studio?
Yeah, basically, yeah. There's 3 bedrooms, and there's 2 adults and 2 cats.
So one for you, one for Elspeth.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then one for the cats. They get the rest of the house. But yeah, it was interesting. There's one of the rooms is I walked in and I was like, oh man, this is so. It's just a little kind of rectangular prism, and it's just doing the walk into the room and clap thing. It's so reverberant. I was like, man, this is literally the worst thing. But then I went and actually played guitar in there the other day, dragged some speakers in, and it was okay.
Oh, okay.
That's good. Yeah, I'm sure with a cloud and, some stuff on the walls.
How big is it? How many meters?
Maybe slightly larger than the room we tracked here today in.
Yeah.
That room, that storeroom.
Yeah.
Bigger than that.
So a 3 meter by 3 meter sort of a thing?
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe a little narrower, but a bit longer sort of thing. So,
that's the standard size bedroom these days for Australian homes, I think. So
it's a standard mid-80s Australian bedroom. It's it is what it is. But yeah, so I was kind of like, oh, this kind of sucks. But actually going in there, I was like, no, this is totally usable, and putting some things in there, I think will change that as well.
Yep.
And I've got my little. This is just the living room is a really weird shape, so it's kind of like 2 rooms without a wall between them. So yeah, I'm in this little nook adjacent to the kitchen at the moment, which I don't mind. And I've already made some videos here, and I've still got the old space with all my stuff in it. So I've been sort of doing a few half days there and then coming home and editing, which has been really, really nice, just to kind of break up the routine and get all the things done in one go. But yeah, definitely being able to work from here will be nice. And I mean, there's just so many things where it's like things I've been putting off where I'm like, I could set that up, but it's not going to be permanent. Whereas with this, it's like, no, I might, go all in with having cameras permanently set up to do, the shots down on pedals and things like that. And but then again, maybe it'll just be nice to have a clean space. And when I want something, it's like, okay, cool, pull that out, use it, do the things. So, but yeah, it's been a slow transition so far, but it's been kind of nice.
3 weeks?
Yeah, on Wednesday it'll be 3 weeks since we got the keys.
Yeah,
so
that's cool, man. And and then with the shed, have you got any like preliminary plans you want to share with? Like, you haven't really mentioned to me yet what you want to
do. It'll need to be like, come and have a look at it, but it'll need to be treated.
Oh, well,
that's the main thing. But it's a nice, like the previous owners who built it, they did it good. There's a concrete slab. It's all like high quality steel. It's rained a few times while we've been here, and I haven't seen any leaks in it yet. But that's good. It's sort of like,
how big is it? Meters.
It's, man, what did I figure out? I think it's something like 30 square meters or something.
Okay, so that's a bit of size.
It's like maybe 8 by 3 and a bit or something. It's a fairly decent space. So yeah, that'd be I think the goal would be to have a setup in there where I can do what I normally do, have some stuff in there, but also set half of it aside for, my wife is great at doing cosplay and crafts and stuff like that. Maybe have it set up as like a bit of so we can pull some lights out if she wants to take photos of stuff, or if she wants to, time lapse her making cosplay things and, wiring up guitars and doing tech work and stuff like that in there, and have that separate from the living space, I think would be quite nice.
Yep. Yeah, that's cool, man. Like, that sounds... we don't have space like that in my place. All my stuff's here at my studio, and that's wicked too. But sometimes... yesterday, I had a bit of time to sit on the couch and hang out, which ended up being me making dinner while Amy was out with the kids. But yeah, there's like no place in my house to like go and just plug in a guitar amp and play. We don't have the space for it. So yeah, dragging stuff out, you do that, and it's literally in front of the TV, and that's not going to work either when there's like other people needing to use the space. Well, yeah. Well, they're probably older than toddlers now. I think 3 and 5. Like, I don't know what that age is. It's my son's last week of pre-primary this week, and next year 1. So that's exciting. But yeah, man, I feel you. Like, just to have separation and space, I think is really important. So yeah, I'm looking forward to come around. We'll put together some ideas to make you a hell of a studio. What did I say to you? Like, we'll get a 3D printer.
Yeah. There you go. We're gonna get into the industry, ladies and gentlemen, of 3D printing.
I don't want to be in an industry. I just want a 3D printer. I just feel like I won't even know.
It feels like a thing.
Yeah. Won't need it. Don't need it. Have no use for it. But we'll just buy a 3D printer. The two of us, all three of us. Elspeth as well.
Not long ago, my old man discovered the world of 3D printing and was like, I got to get into this. Which is, when like, in the era before streaming, where now it's like you can just buy a TV and it connects to the Wi-Fi and stuff works. But it'd be like, mate, you want to watch DVDs? You can buy a DVD player. How cool is that? But then there's these other things which let you burn DVDs.
Oh, yeah.
There was this like hierarchy of like home tech stuff. So I just always, as a kid, remember, he'd always be like, hey, there's this new thing and it's brand new, but wait, give it 2 years and it'll be half the price kind of thing. I remember buying he bought it, obviously, because I would have been maybe 13 or 14, but it was a DVD player that could, like, it had a hard drive.
Oh, yeah.
So you could, if you had a VHS, you could record your VHS onto the hard drive, then burn it to a DVD.
Yep.
That was immense.
Yep.
I remember, man, all the like REH and Hot Licks videos that we had, I copied them over. So I had that stuff before it was just available on YouTube, which is pretty handy.
Can I just tell you really quickly? We were talking before, but I'm working with this band of they're kids, the actual high school students that are incredible guitar players and singers. They do 80s rock. It's completely our stuff. But you'll like this, Leon.
Correct style of music.
The guy was warming up. He was just sitting in the, like, just jamming. Not even warming, just between takes, just doing some guitar exercises. And I just leant over and said, "Intense Rock 1?" He's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
So
good.
One
good.
of us.
That kid has grown up correctly.
Yep. But what was I going to say to you? Yeah, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. I'm just losing my train of thought. It's been a long week, man. It's been a long year.
Let's talk about gear, seeing as this is a
let me show
podcast.
I'll show the first thing.
What did you get?
Oh, this is a studio thing. It's kind of fun, but I'll just tilt it. I got one of these things. Where is it? It's all wrapped in cables. Cool. So it's the UF1, the SSL controller.
Yeah.
So, I bought it off...
You enjoying it?
Yeah, I bought it locally. It was quite cheap. I'd been looking at it for a little while because I don't have a controller. I haven't had one since I got rid of my Slate Ravens, and were a little hit and miss for me. So all I need really is one fader to do automation rides, and this tick the box. But there's a few other features about it that I really, really enjoy, and it kind of got me looking at the 8 fader one and all that too. So it's kind of, I was looking at this stuff maybe 12 months ago, but I didn't have heaps of use for it. I'm a bit funny with studio stuff. I don't know if there's any other studio people who are listening to this. You may agree or disagree, but the whole world of control surfaces and controllers and stuff it's really useful, and it can be really cool, and it can enable you to work in like a more analog environment. But there's certain things where, to me, like I work in like at least 2 different studios a week, if not 4, if I'm doing stuff at TAFE as well. And then there's been other places like in addition to that. So like when I'm in front of a controller 24 hours a day, like 7 days a week, I can learn all the shortcuts and stuff and I can use it. But then you go to another place and the environment's completely different. Really what you need to understand is just the like keyboard and the shortcuts involved with that. I think that's like number one. And most of my stuff, most of the things that I need to do, I've pretty well have learnt the keyboard shortcuts for them. So when it comes to controllers, like I don't really need a play stop button on an extra device because my hand is always hovering over a space bar,
bro.
And it's like, it's kind of, same as like changing in Pro Tools, changing windows to between the edit and mix window. Like I have to look at the keyboard because I can't tell you what the keys are. I just do it instinctively. It's been 20 years I've been using Pro Tools, but Command equals will just change that. And splitting clips and stuff. So programming that into an external controller that has macro control is just fucking useless to me.
Yeah, exactly.
But the controller that I have now, like this one that's sitting next to me, allows me to do things that I can't do with the keyboard, like just do the automation rides very easily. And weirdly enough, I've not really worked with a jog wheel, and I've just fucked around with that today, and it's like so easy. Yeah, it's weirdly kind of convenient. Like I work with a trackpad. I've been using a trackpad for a number of years, and I can use a mouse too, but the trackpad sort of takes up a bit less real estate. Some people like the balls too. That's cool. But just like swiping around and navigating the session with the jog wheel. There's a few things about that that's really quick. So again, it's stuff that it augments or it makes your workflow better. And I get a bit sucked into devices that help with efficiency. And
some of them are pretty snake oily, hey?
Some of them are. Like there's other stuff like SoundFlow.
Where you're just like,
Yeah, SoundFlow, I'm all about that. And there's stuff with that which is, there's macro control where you can do a lot of repetitive tasks very easily, and it does save a little bit of time. But yeah, some of the other controller sort of things, it's a bit tricky. Pro Tools as well is a bit limited because of the protocol it uses. I'm not sure how much you know or care about that, but there's a lot of Pro Tools functionality you can only access controller-wise with an Avid controller, and it's just by the protocol it uses. It's one of the reasons I got sort of not disillusioned, but I probably didn't find the Slate Ravens as functional as maybe I could have. Whereas, Anyway, that's not a necessary thing to talk about right now. They looked cool.
As long as you're not using Reaper.
Someone's going to come after you for saying that, mate.
Yeah.
Not me.
Dan Laurel will come after me.
Yeah, Dan Worrell, unfortunately the smartest man on the fucking internet, but he uses Reaper, so his opinion is worthless. No, I'm kidding.
We've all got our flaws, don't we?
Yeah, he is the best like audio teacher on the internet.
Yeah,
but for me,
so good.
As I said, like DAW battles are pretty sort of, it's a non-event these days. You just use whatever you feel like. Every studio I work in uses Pro Tools, so it would be silly for me to only use something that isn't Pro Tools. That's the reality of my workflow. So if you use Ableton...
Well, I use Universal Audio Luna because it's free.
Absolutely. So, that's good too. And it looks just like Pro Tools.
Avid cannot have my $300 a year.
I feel you.
My cats can have that. But it's basically Pro Tools integrated with console.
Yeah, it's great, man. I really dig it. But in terms of other gear, man, I can't remember what I've had since the last time I saw you. I got that Diamond compressor. That was really cool. I might have mentioned that already.
Yep. Well, I've got a Mooer Yellow comp on the way because of
nice. Well, I actually bought a second Mooer.
Try it.
I bought a second
one.
Yeah, so I have now like effectively 3 compressors that do the exact same thing. But I hope you like it, man. Let me know how you go with it.
Yeah. Well, when it arrives, I'll do a video with it. I'm super keen to get some squish out of it. You could do the thing, total side note, but have you ever had to record slide guitar?
Yes, I have. Yep.
Like someone who can actually play it?
I've recorded actual slide players a handful of times. I've recorded not actual slide players more than that, but I have recorded.
Yeah, do you know the double comp trick?
Yep, the dual 1176, like smash the shit out of it. Yeah. That slide rig, Origin Effects slide rig pedal is effectively that. It's like 2 FET, like 1176 style compressors in series that just gives significant amount of gain reduction. So, yeah. But that's the sound. That's the sound completely.
Mean, it makes so much sense if anyone's ever just played slide guitar through their amp and you're like, this is so hard. Why do these other dudes sound so good?
It's compression. Lots and lots
of
compression.
Apparently, a lot of that Sean Lane fretless stuff that he was doing before he passed away, he was using a similar like 2 comps.
I don't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, which is, I guess, kind of part of the sound.
Well, that's the big thing, man. It's sustain. Like, distortion gives you sustain in some way or another.
Volume gives you sustain as well.
Volume gives you sustain, but how do you achieve that at levels that, distortion-wise, I love distortion because I play predominantly rock music, but yeah, I try and rip a solo with a clean sound and the note just dies because that's what it does. Or it sounds too plucky sounding or too ice picky sounding. And then I end up playing, I noticed this too, and I'll mention this in a sec too, because I think I said to you before, I played 4 different gigs over the last 2 weeks with 4 completely
different rigs,
unrelated rigs. But I find that when I'm playing in one of the bands, because it doesn't allow for mass distortion, and so I can't just hold a note and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, look at me everybody, I'm just like ringing the note out for 20 seconds. I have to play more licks and more notes because otherwise it just goes beep, 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 dip, 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 dip. So, which kind of is annoying to me as well. But yeah, man. So
tell us about the gigs and the rigs.
I don't want to take over too much, so apologies if you came here for Uncle Leon and you have to hear about Troy Nababan. But man, yeah, I played I kind of built all these guitar rigs for this purpose, for different scenarios. But yeah, what did I use? So I went pedal board into Deluxe Reverb for the first one, and that pedal board is my little board that has the Brown Protein on it and the Mooer compressor, and the what's it called? The Source Audio. Is it the Ventress? What's the dual? The delay
is the dual delay.
No, sorry, it's the delay reverb one is the one I have. I think
Collider.
Collider. That's the one. That's really cool, man. But that board also has an IRX on it, Friedman IRX, and so I can use it direct or I can use it through a backline amp or whatever. So the first gig was a bit more of it was a 5-piece gig and needed a bit more of a clean sound. So yeah, just turn the IRX off, bypassed it completely with an external box that I have and loop switch box that I have. And man, it was great because that your Deluxe Reverb is wicked. I wouldn't say it's the best amp, but it's probably like one of the best amps. And if you've got a pedal that gives you the amount of distortion that you like, which the Brown pretty much does, I was very happy. The thing about the Brown, it's got the Bluesbreaker circuit in it, and then it's got the Nobles ODR sort of circuit in it.
Yeah, right.
The ODR is sort of just enough. Like, it's not quite as heavy metal hard rock as what I like in some circumstances, which is why I messaged you a little while ago about like more of a distortion pedal, because I think there's circumstances where I need a bit more of that like kind of 80s heavy metal sort of job. Whereas the ODR is great for playing slightly lighter stuff and it gets almost there, but you can't quite make it heavy enough.
The Rev G pedals, like I'll let you take both of them and try them. They're like, they're basically the best. Like if you've got a clean amp and you want it to sound like, you know, a Marshall or a high gain or a Friedman-y kind of thing, or a Rev, you know, they're just very good.
I was looking at those. I was looking at the Sir Wright as well. That one looks pretty cool too.
Yep. It's another cool one.
That's one kind of inexpensive, just around the corner. So I thought about that.
Because there are those times, I mean, you know, if you're playing a gig where you're mostly playing with a very clean, compressed sound for rhythm guitar duties, you know, you don't really want to swap over to like an amp distortion sound, which is going to have all these overtones. It's going to be so far out of the box. So that's where like a pedal distortion, where like a Nobles or a Hot Cake or, you know, I don't know, a Zen Drive or something, those very smooth kind of sounding things, they just work really well because, you know, they don't make the guitar go all like hairy. It's still smooth and Lex Luthor, but it's just, you've got more sustain and you've got more go.
Man, it's taken me ages to get pedals distortion, and it's because I like, you know, big sounding loud Marshalls so much. And in the studio too, maybe not a Marshall, but any sort of amp distortion, it's so satisfying to play and it's so dynamic and responsive when you play it, whereas a pedal just always seemed very fake and plastic and bland for whatever reason. But then some of these gigs, you know, you take these big hairy sounds in and it doesn't work. Like it's so overpowering in the context of playing with 3, 4 or 5 other people, whatever it is, whereas a pedal, like, it's such a more narrow sound and a smaller sound that when I've got earplugs in, which is, you know, how you should gig if you don't. And sometimes I don't, but I definitely did the other day. You got earplugs in and you're playing at a decent volume. You don't feel like you're the only person that exists on that stage. And I've worked with bands as a sound person that they've done that, and it's difficult, you know, and trying to cover.
Especially when you play with keyboards, right? Because they just are like this blob.
Yeah, that's already the dominating fucking sound.
Where you're just like, well, I'm just going to like find a little niche and just stay right in it and not really go out of it.
Yeah. Like I played that gig, man, that was with a keyboard player. I did the same gig with the same band, but without the keyboard player a few months ago. And that's when I used the Astro, the Soldano Astro. Yep. That was different, you know, and I mostly kept to the cleaner sounds and just like, you know, used like the pedals on the board, and that kind of worked out pretty well. But anyway, moving on. Same rig.
That's rig 1.
That was rig 1. Same rig the next night, but I used the IRX direct into the PA because the stage was so small. Like, it was at Johnny Fox's in the city, which have you played there before?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's tiny. Imagine like the Cal stage, but like maybe a third the size of it. Yeah. So you can basically get a drum kit on it, and then you've got about this much space either side for your bass player and guitar player to stand, and that's how
Swinging Pig Mark II.
It's exactly like that. So no space to take an amp, and it's really late gig. Load-in's pretty nasty in it if you don't get a good parking spot, which I thankfully did. So I really wanted to take an amp, but I thought I'll take the IRX and it'll be nice and easy. I've used it in the studio a couple of times, and it has like been so good. Like it's really blown people away how good it sounded.
Yeah.
And I still haven't done the update on it. I'm still on the original one. But and I used it for a gig early this year, going direct for a one song sort of thing that I had to do for someone, like a corporate thing. But yeah, I did the whole gig with it, and yeah, it was really good, man. I probably used it mostly in the cleaner sound, like the less drivey sound, still with the pedals, because again, like fitting in with the band, even going direct, it's like a bit more 80s rock stuff, like in some of it, but yeah, it's the sound that I like versus the sound that is required are sometimes very different things, and so. Anyway, I kind of had to compromise, but man, it's really good. I couldn't really sort of differentiate that it was like, I mean, obviously it was coming out of a foldback speaker, so it was slightly different, but it felt very normal, like very normal to play.
Yep.
I was quite surprised. So yeah, man, that thing is wicked. I haven't tried what's the The Jake one. I haven't tried that one yet. But
the IRJ,
no, the IRD was really cool when I tried that.
Yep.
But the IRX is just wicked, man.
Well, so, friend of the podcast, Michael Nielsen, did a shootout with all three of them. So
I saw that.
Someone wants to know the difference.
Yeah.
Total segue. But did you see his cover band rig?
Yeah, I watched Nielsen. If you're watching this, I'm not sure if he watches this or not, but I was watching, going like, man, I've been through this so many times, exactly like him. Just you go out for like most of my gigs are the same thing every time. And I think I've said to you before and on this, the electric guitar gigs that I have to do with the full band are less common. And so when they finally happen, I'm like so excited to use the new gear I've bought or try new stuff. Yep. And I was watching that video going like, yep, I've gone down this route before, like, you know, MIDI swapping your channels for like per song and programming all the sounds and stuff. It's like his rig was insane. Using that VH, was it called the VHX?
The VHX.
Yeah, that thing was cool. I kind of forgot that existed, to be honest, until I watched that. So, but yeah, it sounded awesome, man. And his board was also very similar to like using a Morningstar, using an HX. That's on my other rig. I think he had the Wampler ODR style thing on there, and I think that was the ODR style. So, and a TU2, you know, legend. That's how you build a rig.
Exactly. That's how you do it.
But anyway, then so I did that gig, IRX, wicked, and I think next year when I do the Dockers games, I will be using that. I think I've decided to swap over to that. Yeah,
awesome.
Because I use the AX8 or the AX8 for the next gig, which was
right.
That was another just rock up, go direct. Don't really know what the thing's going to be, but I needed something that had a sound that I was comfortable with. But so that was running through as a whole system an EV PA stick PA thing, you know, the Evolve systems.
Yes.
So I've got one of those, and that's what I gig with now. When I've got to take a PA, just a single. So that's all I had there, which is fine. That's enough. I've actually run the IRX through that, and it sounded fucking unbelievable, man. It was so good. Like, really liked it. However, the AX8 kind of sounded a bit whatever, weirdly enough. I'm not sure why.
Interesting.
And it sounded great through other systems. It just didn't really work through this one. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it just needed a bit of dialing in, whereas I didn't do that. I just plugged in and, like, did my gig.
Just plug in and play.
Plugged and play. So, but it was still cool. And you know, I forget with the AX8, it's just ready to go. It's always like, it's in the bag. The cables are all there. Just take it, go, do the gig, and it's always going to be fine. So that's kind of why I did that. I didn't really think I had much time to sound check. It's not programmed really to do the cleaner stuff, which is what I kind of got out of the other pedal board with IRX and stuff on it. So that was a bit more versatile for the other gigs. This one was just like basically heavy metal-ish the whole time. So that kind of worked, but there's a few times like, really should have dialed this in a little bit differently. I think now I programmed this same sound years ago in probably like 2020, and I haven't changed it because I've been happy with it. But it's 2024, man. It's only 2025. I probably should have changed it up. So, and then the last rig, man, was just the normal cover band gig, which is HX Stomp, Morningstar, and RC500, and that is still great too. All these things, like, that's built for a looping rig, and that's the one I take to every gig, and it's been awesome. It needs a bit of a refresh, needs a rewire because half the pedals are hanging off it. I had I built a pedal board for someone last year, and I had some issues with the Strymon Zoomer power supply that they used, like causing a bit of noise through the whole rig. And I hadn't used the Zoomer, but they had an HX Stomp in their rig, but I had the same thing, but use a True Tone one spot. Not the one spot, whatever, the CS12 or CS7. I think it's the 7 I've got. So I'm like, I know this power supply works. So I basically like disconnected everything on my pedal board just to test the one power supply. And yeah, sure enough, it was actually the Zoomer that was causing a couple of issues and general noise, which I ended up solving with we probably talked about it last year, but yeah, it's been 12 months, man, and this board is still kind of in pieces. All the Velcro is not working. All the dual locks been like fucked up, and
as all actual working pedal boards should be. You know, it's interesting, right? When you see the like Instagram boards, where you're like, yeah, that's really nice. That's a hobby, and I've been through that. Like during COVID, it was like, oh, I'll put all my pedals on pedal boards, and you know, it's really fun to sit there and make them work, and then as soon as you start playing through it, you're like, well, that sucks, got to take it off, stick something on as a stopgap.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
I mean, I've watched some of those videos. I don't even
have my stuff mounted to a board now. I mean, I'm using the Fractal stuff, right? But even sometimes I just don't want to use an expression pedal for a gig. I don't need it. So it's I don't have the whole thing mounted. Mm-hmm. So it's just like FM3 on the floor or FM9 on the floor, and that's pretty good. Other times I use an expression pedal. Sometimes I want to use 2 expression pedals for some things. It's nice having that kind of flexibility, and then you just kind of pack it up and you're done.
Yep, absolutely. I haven't used an expression pedal for a little bit. I was thinking about that the other day because I've got like one of the little Hotone ones, I think it is. So it doesn't take up that much space. Good. Yeah, that's really cool. But man, like I said, that rig needs to be retooled, and it has changed. It's been 2 years that I've had that. It's been on this rock board, and I've gone through phases with that where it was programmed so I could use it as like a 4-cable method rig, and it could be a direct thing or just purely in front of an amp, or just it kind of did everything. But in reality, having this other little pedal board with a drive and a tuner and stuff on it has actually been a bit more useful to me. So I keep the 2 things separate, and not everything is to do everything.
Having different boards for different purposes is really cool. I've done a few just in organizing my stuff. I built a board. What's on it? It's got the IRJ. It's mostly using stuff that I've got. If I looked at, say, my Fractal rig, the things that I use the most in that, trying to recreate that with individual pedals. So there's a Big Sky on it, there's a Strymon Dig, and there's a TC Electronic SCF, an old one I've got from the 80s. That's the like back end. And then IRJ, and I've got a Past Effects, their clone of the Booster Line Driver, and there was some other pedal I stuck on there as well.
Past Effects like penne or like some sort of fettuccine or?
More a kind of lasagna. That's the way I like to go. You know, that's got all the cells. So yeah, doing that.
All the cells. That was better. That was a better joke.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's super fun, and I really like the sounds I get out of it. And it's different to actually play around with. And then I put all my Boss pedals on my favorite Boss pedals on a board. So I did a video with that one, and that was just into the front of the IRD. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm gonna, there's the Tone X update that came out as well, which has a few extra things. So I put the Tone X pedal on there with a few of my captures, which also sounds really good. So just having a sort of little thing for that. I've got another really big board as well with a bunch of auxiliary stuff on it. Kind of want to have brand-themed boards just for playing at home because, got lots of Boss stuff, got lots of Way Huge stuff, lots of the Past Effects. So having like all those kind of things is, when I want to play a particular brand, but then have a board of just like, the greatest hits.
Mate, Pasta Cup. And that's you.
Yeah, exactly. That's me.
Which was closed in Tuart Hill. I tried to go the other day. It was closed. But anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Very convenient.
Yeah. Have you had any gear acquisitions recently, mate? I can't remember. You bought that Les Paul, but anything else?
Yeah, that was sort of the big one. So I've kind of been... I've moved a few things on, put it that way, to compensate for that Les Paul. Got that for... I'm still very pleased with the price I picked that up for. Very, very reasonable. Haven't gigged it yet. We've got an original show on the 21st down in Bunbury, so probably take that and play it for at least a few songs, which should be fun. But in terms of that...
I think that's a gig with all my ex-clients. You guys are
basically
all current clients.
Legs, Street Creature.
Yeah. I don't know the last name, but...
That'll be good fun.
Yep.
But yeah, I've actually spent the spare time I've had to muck around with guitar gear. I've been repairing some things, mostly just like wear and tear. Like, I had to sort out Ryan's bass because the ground wire came off. Actually, that reminds me, I need to get... I'll send you a photo of how ganky so he's got a Music Man Stingray, right? And I thought, maybe it's something up with the preamp. But like the preamp section is perfect. It looks great. It's just the input jack has that like green gunk, which... Okay. But yeah, it was sort of like when I pulled it out to look at it, there was just dry solder on the battery connection and on the ground wire.
Right.
So yeah, I just rewired those and tidied them up, and now it works fine.
Yep.
And then one of my guitars had the ground wire came off. Actually, so this is, you've got a semi-hollow guitar, right? You've got a 335.
Yep.
You haven't had to change the pots or anything in it yet, hey?
No, I did have to try. I changed pickups on that Ibanez semi-hollow I've got. Yeah. That was the worst experience of my life. But anyway, go on.
So Charles Chillier, he changed a pot in my 335 when I was in Sydney. And he was like, oh, here's how I do it. So I used that technique on the guitar he built, because that was the one where the ground wire came off. So I had to take the jack and push it back up through the F hole so that I could rewire it. What you do is you get solder, not to solder things, but just as a malleable, twisty thing. So you push it up and make a little hook on the jack, and then you push the solder up, and it's sort of bendy enough where it will go where you want, but also rigid enough where it will keep things in place.
Yep.
So you do that, you wire it, and then you just pull it back through, and it comes straight back through.
Bing, bang, boom. Done.
It's like magic. It saves you so much time. So yeah, that was one job where I was playing, and I was like, oh man, I think the ground wire's gone on this. This is going to be a nightmare. But yeah, it took 10 minutes to thread through and actually fix. And shout out to Lyle at Psionic Audio, because I bought a new soldering iron. I was on a live stream just bitching about my soldering iron. He was like, buy this one.
Which one did you get?
The Hakko.
Okay, don't know that one.
Yeah, he was just like, this is the one that I use, and get this brand of solder. So I did it, and now soldering's way more fun.
Is it a temperature control one, or just a plug into the wall?
Yeah, temperature control one. Yeah.
I don't have one of those. Mine's just I've got a Weller that I've had for 20 years now.
Oh, the Wellers are great. You know. Pretty sure my dad has had a Weller that he's been using for years and years as well.
Man,
this was just
you can get a soldering iron for $20 from an electronics shop, but if you just spend a little bit more, get a decent one, it does actually last. So.
And actually cleaning the tip and keeping up with it and all those kind of things are they're just very basic things that are obvious if you know how to do it.
Yeah. Shout out to Lyle. I do watch his stuff a bit. We should get him on and have a chat.
That'd be awesome.
I just want to hear his voice. I just want him to talk
voice.
To me. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, hopefully in the new year, man, we'll have a bit more stability with the show, because I think this has been a very busy year, unfortunately, for everybody. So
it's been a wild year, man.
Wild ride.
At the start of the year, I was like, wow, I got nothing in the books, and here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are, mate.
Do you remember? You go. You go.
No, you go.
Oh, I was going to say, do you remember we had an episode probably around January, February, where I was like, hey, Leon, you haven't bought a guitar for a while, have you? And then the next day you found that PRS. So just quickly, because it was probably, we might do another show then towards the end of the year, but up until this point, how many guitars have you bought this year?
Boy, let's see. So I bought that PRS CE, which is being refretted.
1.
I bought another PRS CE.
2.
Which I've used quite a lot. I bought the Chillier.
3.
I bought a Les Paul Custom. And I also acquired the Player Strat and the Strat Ultra. So yeah, there's
6.
that, and then the Wolfie as well. 7. Now I have sold. What have I sold this year? I've sold a lot of pedals. I've sold a few guitars. I think at least 3 that were just sort of kicking around. So yeah, the net. It's still a lot.
Yeah.
And, also bought a house. So maybe not so many guitars this year. Get in while you can.
Just get into amps again, mate. There needs to be a third thing. So you can do guitars, you can do amps, you can do pedals if you're into gear. So I don't know, man. Yeah, it's a good thing you're not into proper studio stuff, proper studio stuff, because that's Ooh.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. What do you reckon out of the things, what's been the best stuff that you've bought this year? And what do you think is maybe what's your vote for the coolest product of 2024?
I don't know, man. What have I bought this year? I bought a lot of amps this year.
I was going to say, yeah,
it's been kind of the year of amps for me. Okay. Well, 2 things, actually. You know what? I bought 2 things mid-year, just before the end of the financial year.
That tracker thing?
Yeah, the GB Tracker, the Undertone Audio GB Tracker, which is a guitar reamper DI. That thing's awesome. Sounds really good. And it's very expensive. It's probably the most expensive DI on the market, or one of them. But interestingly, at the same time, from the same place, I bought a, what's it called? The United Audio U87 clone. which I've had, and I still have, a Manly reference cardioid tube mic, which I've had for 10-ish years.
Oh, yeah.
I've used it on just about everyone since I've owned it, because it's very expensive and nice sounding mic. But there's certain rock singers that I found I didn't like it on so much. So, for example, Ryan, it sounded great, like your singer. And not in case you didn't know who that was, Leon. The singer from Your Man. It sounded really great. But I've had other rock singers where I'm not sure if it's a volume thing or it's a tone thing. It just felt like a bit too nice sounding, or a bit too, like, it just didn't work. And there was a lot of mixing to make it happen. Anyway, I picked up this mic for like $600. Clone of U 87. And there's a bunch of different clones you can get. There's like a Warm Audio one and Stam and all that sort of stuff, like for the cheaper end ones. I got the United one because we've got their FET 47 clone in the studio downstairs, and that thing sounds really great. I've been using that on kick drum and stuff a lot. But yeah, this thing, man, it's basically been like the only mic I've used on singers for the last 4 or 5 months. Everybody, female singers, male singers, rock singers, pop singers, it's just worked. And absolutely no problem with it whatsoever. Probably should buy another one, to be honest, and just have a pair. So that's probably been on, like, outside of that, like, in terms of guitars and pedals, like, I bought that Brown Protein. That's been incredible. Like, that's my favorite drive pedal. And that Moore compressor as well has been also been really good.
That's awesome.
But it's boring stuff. It's not expensive, but this SSL controller is cool, but I only just bought it and I haven't really smashed it enough. I think next year will be the year that I buy a Soldano SLO. That's pretty much in the books. I have to own one.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I think I probably need to buy the snakeskin one or a purple one. There's not really... But if the owner of that one... Oh, no, it's not there anymore. It's downstairs. I used it for something last week. But if the owner of the one I have currently is willing to sell it, I will buy it off him absolutely 100%, no questions asked. But that is just a thing that is required. I have a lot of... Like, I'm an amp dude, unfortunately, and there's a lot of amps that are on the list. That one, I think I've realized the amount that I've used it this year sort of necessitates that I do buy one, though. It's covered me for clean sounds, and it's covered me for crunchy sounds, and obviously, like, the heavy stuff is great, but it's been so versatile. So I may have to part with something to get one. I'm on the fence about that Splawn Nitro again, man. I might have to give that one that seems to be always the first one on the chopping block when I think about it, but I don't know. It's
cool amp.
It's a cool amp. I think it doesn't really fit a need for me just at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But there's a few things that I have. I don't know if it's the same with you, but I know if I sell it, I'll never ever see it again or get another one, and so I'm reluctant to let things go. But we'll see.
Yeah. I know that feeling very well. Where you're like, well, I'll probably never use this again, but I used it that one time.
Yep. It's hard, man. So. Anyway, but we'll see, man. There's a bit of studio stuff that I may pick up. We'll see. I'm very lucky. I've got everything I need to do my job. I need to buy a new computer next year as well. So when Apple decides to release a Mac Studio with an M4 processor in it, I'll probably be first in line to buy one of those.
Yep.
And then that's pretty much it, man. Yeah. Any other questions? This is a very Troy-centric episode.
This is a very Troy-centric episode. I'm totally fine with that. I'm curious. It's been a while since we've had a chat. So I'm always curious to see, I just get to make fun noises a lot of the time. So I think what I prioritize and value for fun noises isn't necessarily going to be the thing where you're like, hey, I've got to keep people happy in the studio and make them sound good. So you need, it's a slightly different kind of a angle that you come at it, which is really, really good. All right, one last one. Mm-hmm. What was your favorite guitar-related video that you saw on the internet this year? Was that guy playing technical difficulties on accordion?
I forgot about that till you said it. So yeah, probably that one. I did I send you the Goblin Cellist?
No.
I think he's a guy on like Britain's Got Talent or one of these things, and he's painted in green, he's playing cello, and they say, so you're the goblin cellist, like what's the deal with that? And he says, well, I've played cello for a long time, and I've always just felt like I was a goblin. And they said, oh, okay, well, show us what you got. And then he just starts doing a goblin dance and playing the cello. Like, that's not guitar related, but that's probably the best music related thing I've seen.
So good.
So yeah, maybe we'll find a link to that and put that in the episode notes. We don't do notes, but
Well, on that note, mate, I don't think you can top a goblin cellist. So thanks to everybody who has supported us over the year. We'll hopefully do at least one more episode before the end of the year and cap off season 3 of the Gear Podcast. Subscribe, like, tell your mates, sell Troy and SLO.
Yep.
And we'll see you all on the next one.
Peace.